Hello, my name is John Peters and I have been a practicing engineer at AMEC for more than a decade. The theme of this module is improving written communication. The module focuses on leads and managers with the intention of having these leads and managers disseminate the information to their employees. This video is intended to emphasize the more salient points of the communication module and perhaps emphasize items which the presenter might pay particular attention to during the presentation of the module to his leads or managers. The justification for the module comes from AMEC and customer reviews of the contractor's communication skills. AMEC identified it as an area for improvement. A customer has on occasion actually given us outlines for reports and some of the other documents. If reporting is inadequate or report communication is inadequate, there's a risk that customer satisfaction is jeopardized and employee promotion rates reduced. You might ask the question why an engineer is selected to present this particular module. The experience in reviewing reports have illustrated or demonstrated some what I will call deficiencies or areas of improvement, and these are now brought to light and hopeful that we can correct them across the company. Also, client feedback has indicated that communication or effective communication would be desirable. Although they have paid us numerous compliments on the quality of technical work that we do, they have often said that the presentation of this technical work is not as expected. The lack of clarity in communications can also impact the efficiency with which we do our work. Unclear instructions delivered to employees will tend to promote recycle, and recycle, of course, reduces efficiency. The client and AMEC have suggested the following topics to be discussed in this module: reports and calculations, study charters, progress reports, and technical decision records. And of course, the presenter will outline the requirements for each of these. One of the reasons why some of these items are included is because some of the industrial practices have not been followed as we execute the work in these four subjects. Before we proceed with looking at the details of those four items, perhaps we ought to spend a minute reviewing the fundamentals of writing. Sentences should be simple, short, and succinct, and there should be no unnecessary words. One subject per paragraph. The information flow should be smooth and logical. The conclusions and recommendations should be absolutely clear. Graphs and tables are uncluttered, identified and discussed in the body of the report. In addition to those 5 items, we suggest that the presenter encourage leads, managers, and employees to read technical journals, observe the style of writing, observe the information flow, and data presentation. In addition, Strunk and White have published a book called Elements of Style, where they describe the application of English grammar and word usage in the creation of sentences, paragraphs, reports, and other documents. We've just reviewed the elements of writing sentences and paragraphs. I think at this point in time it is appropriate for us to look at some of the 4 items that were listed in the recommendations from AMEC and our customers. The first one is reports and calculations. One of the reasons why the outline is presented in this particular module is that our employees and even some of our customers have not been following the industrially accepted outlines that have been used for many, many years. So in an effort to provide some consistency across the company, the following outline is suggested. This follows the industrial practice reasonably well. There are, of course, some exceptions. So the Reports and calculations should include an executive summary, an introduction and background, a problem statement, approximations, assumptions, and design bases, analyses, conclusions, and recommendations. I would suggest that the presenter emphasize these elements in the preparation of a report or calculation, and that when reports and calculations are reviewed by the managers and by the leads, that the adherence to this outline be emphasized. The second element in that list of 4 are study charters. A study charter is really a roadmap for the execution of a study. The elements of the study charter include purpose and objectives, scope, interfaces, primary and secondary. How does the study interface with upstream and downstream equipment, if you wish? Decision criteria, expected outcomes, the duration, the resources and man-hours used to execute the study, then the execution strategy, and approvals and signatures. There is a sample of a study charter in the module which people can follow, and it will provide additional information as to the definition of purpose and objectives. I would encourage the presenter to draw attention to this particular sample and encourage people to follow it, use it as a guideline or a complementary bit of information in the preparation of study charters. The third element on that list is progress reporting. One of the reasons it made the list, for lack of a better way of putting it, is there have been cases where the contractor has been accused of issuing a progress report that lacks the required information. On a few occasions I've heard that progress reports don't tell us anything. Hence the focus on what should be the contents of a progress report. Since leads and managers at the execution level hardly are responsible for the entire report, we are restricted to making contributions, and it is suggested that the following format would be implemented in providing this information. So the things that, or the elements that leads and managers should offer to the progress report would be the activities of last month, the activities scheduled for the next month, and I'm assuming the month is the reporting period, the deliverables for the month, the performance factor, and a spreadsheet of key quantities. The performance factor is nothing more than a ratio of the man-hours budgeted versus the man-hours spent. We look for performance factors of 1. If a performance factor is greater than 1, that means we've been more efficient. If a performance factor is less than 1, which implies that we have expended more hours than we have budgeted, and consequently, if the situation is sufficiently serious, we may need some remedial action. The assembler of the progress report may in fact request that this remedial action be included in the document. In an attached appendix to the progress reporting part of the module, there are sample spreadsheets of some ideas as to how manual progression may be achieved and subsequently rationalized. There are many approaches to do this, but the leads, the managers, and the employees may use this as a bit of a guideline. The last element for progress reporting includes the spreadsheet of key quantities. During the early phases of design, estimates of quantities such as lengths of pipe, tons of steel, cubic meters of concrete have all been estimated, and in a number of instances have been agreed between the contractor and the customer. During the execution of the work, the volumes of key quantities continue to be tracked. In a circumstance where the key quantities exceed the budgeted quantities, an alarm is raised, and the scope of work is either changed to reduce the key quantities back to the budget value, or a trend is raised to cover the additional cost. In summary, the important elements of this presentation and the module, it's necessary for us to incorporate the fundamentals of writing, the use of words, the structure of sentences, arrangement of paragraphs, and report documents. It is also necessary for us to implement the outlines presented for the 4 subjects listed above. outlines are presented in this video as well as in the module itself. The last element is to review, mentor, and support improvement in the implementation of the 2 items above.